presenters today for our innovation pilot project. We are excited to continue this journey. We're on, I don't even know what number now, but we have a total of 11 of these webinars where we are sharing the projects from our IPP grantees. Next slide, Jennifer. As hopefully most of you know, if you've been on these before, we categorize the projects into 5 essential buckets. Honestly, it helps us really share the information as well as for stakeholders and individuals and families to understand where these projects are touching and what parts of waiver redesign they're impacting. So we have projects around supporting those that support, which is really around supporting DSPs and caregivers, support through technology, community partnerships and community change, information and skills for individuals, and exploring current models of services, home and community-based services, and the payment structure. So we have, next slide, we have 2 grantees, as I mentioned today. They each have 2 projects that were approved. And so they're going to go ahead in just a few minutes and share those. I want to, again, highlight our website. I will put this link as well in the chat, as I know you're not going to probably be able to type that out. But we have a specific page on the FSSA spend plan page around the BEADS innovation projects. And each of the grantees have uploaded, or we have uploaded, a 1-pager that describes their project in a little bit more detail. Just gives you, again, you cannot describe these projects in 1 page, but it gives you some highlights and some outcomes and what they hope to accomplish over the next 2 years. So please take a look at this web page. Again, I will put this in the chat as well. This is being recorded and the slides will be available as well on this particular page in the next couple of days. So if you're unable, or obviously if you're not here, you're not going to hear this, but if someone's not here that you think this would be valuable for them, please share this that link to them and they can go ahead and rewatch it or watch it for the first time. Okay, I'm going to kick it over to Sycamore first. Again, they have 2 projects, so they're going to present those, and then we have connections case management. I will follow the slides too for you guys, or I'm sorry, the questions, and save those till the end. Becky and LaDonna, I can just let you know what those are.
Okay.
Thanks, LaDonna, go ahead.
Jennifer, I was planning on you doing the slides, so if you don't mind.
No problem, just say next and I'll advance them for you.
Okay. So we're going to start with our smart home technology for our residential services, and you can go to the next slide. So since 1961, Sycamore has supported individuals with increasing independence and enhancing their quality of life. Sycamore offers lifelong supports to those with disabilities in over 22 Indiana counties. This project will focus on serving those in our residential services, primarily in Hendricks and Morgan County. And you can go to the next slide. So for our project, we're combating the high need for direct support professionals due to the industry staffing crisis. This issue is being addressed by providing in-home and personal device technologies to promote individuals' independence. Most of these smart devices are not covered by waiver, and so for that reason, unattainable for many of those receiving the services. This project addresses the gap by seeing the effects of the smart technology in the lives of those we serve. You can go to the next slide. So approximately 20 adults with IDD that receive residential services are part of the target population. Individuals with a variety of support needs will be included. At least 2 individuals for each proposed technology for comparison purposes will be used. Individuals identified as having barriers to increasing their independence without the staff present are also part of the target population. And we can go to the next slide. So what we will do is we'll evaluate potential participants' needs and personal goals, create individualized plans matching the participant with smart devices, purchase and deliver devices, which we are at now. So we've done those first 3 at this point. Train employees and participants on selected devices, implement technology in the homes, and evaluate the effectiveness of the technology by measuring goal attainment and whether there's a decrease in the need for our staff. We can go to the next slide. So our short-term goals are growth of participants' independence, the reduction of the stress and scheduling needs on limited staff, and growth in technology access and education. For our long-term goals, we have better health outcomes and quality of life, participants reaching life goals faster, and being able to attract and retain more direct support professionals. Next slide. So we have some examples listed here, and we have some pictures of them. Basically, a lot of the devices will be paired with like Alexa, tablets, or smartphones for ease of use for the participants. Some examples include smart appliances, keyless entry, remote security, automatic door openers, medication dispensers, smart light bulbs, and smart watches. We can go to the next. So 2 stories of additional technology that were identified for use. One is an automated companion pet. So it looks, moves, and sounds like a real puppy. It actually came in yesterday, and so we were looking at it. It's very cute. You get to pet it and it'll move around. You get to talk to it. So we think the individual will really enjoy it. So that individual served doesn't require nor want 24/7 supports. He has some friendships, but becomes bored and lonely at times, as we all do. He will call 911 and ask to be taken to the ER for what we believe to be socialization rather than medical issues. So he's been matched with the automated companion dog. So as you can see him on the screen, and we're hoping that that will assist him with his needs and decrease the use of calls to EMS. The other one that we're highlighting is the smart refrigerator. And there's kind of a picture of a refrigerator. It's not really the smart refrigerator. I had difficulty finding a picture of that. But this is going to a home where individuals have limited mobility. One of the individuals is trying to make healthier food choices. So the refrigerator will allow some functions to be voice commands, such as ice makers or water dispensers. And then it'll also have a screen on the fridge where healthier items can be placed to the front and be displayed to encourage choosing those, and then having the items kind of behind that aren't the greatest of healthy choices for him. So next slide. That is all I have on our project. But I don't know if we open it to questions at this point or how we want to do that.
I think we're going to save them till the end, LaDonna, just to make
Okay.
sure that we have time to get through both your projects and connections. But if anybody has something they want to write in the Q&A so that they don't forget, feel free to do that. But as long as you two can stay till the end, we'll wait till.
Yeah, definitely. So this one is on increasing direct supports, education, personal or professional skills. So who we are, Sycamore, I already explained, so I won't go over that again. But Carry Services, if you can go back one, yes. Provide supports and services for every season of life with a focus on helping families and individuals with disabilities turn their abilities into opportunities. Using a person-centered approach, programming is geared towards motivating them to achieve their goals, increase their independence, and helping them to live their best life. Indiana University's Leddy School of Informatics, Computing, and Engineering is actually going to be developing the virtual reality prototypes and including those in our modules. Indiana University, Indiana Institute on Disability and Community, Indiana's University Center on Excellence for IDD is a bridge that connects the university to the broader community through sharing ideas and innovations to improve community lives. So we can go to the next slide. So our outline or our collaboration is addressing, again, the direct support professional training by evaluating the effectiveness and efficiency of training DSPs by using modules within the Everly Learning Management System and incorporating VR into those models. The models were developed based on the IAC 460, BEATS policy, and procedures, as well as best practices within the field. The modules that are being reviewed for use are safety related, high risk, or have a history of resulting in error, such as lifting, behavior de-escalation, abuse and neglect prevention, and medication administration. Individuals will have the opportunity to view and interact in real life situations. They will be able to get up and physically be involved in addition to typical orientation in classroom setting and on the job training. So the use of virtual reality may attract and engage the gamers of society nowadays into the workforce, as well as given its use in their leisure activities. It's also going to address language barriers for DSPs whose English is not their first language by being able to not only read training curriculum, but hear, see, touch the training experiences in a real life scenario. So next slide. So what we will do is develop prototypes with the scenarios. We'll identify DSPs who could benefit. We'll identify stakeholders such as the program participants to give content input. We'll integrate the virtual reality into existing DSP training. We'll test and evaluate the skill development throughout the software itself, as well as such things as decreases in errors or need for retrainings. You can go to the next slide. For our outcomes, our short term is to increase the number of DSP participants from diverse backgrounds, to reduce the number of times to repeat post-test to meet criteria, improve quality of care for individuals served. For our long-term goals, we're going to do increased accuracy of application of skills, reduced number of errors leading to incident reports and retrainings, increased level of goal achievement by individuals served, and increased sense of community. We can go to the next slide. The counties we're impacting are Marion and then 7 other surrounding counties that you can see on the slide. We can go to the next slide. The technology that we're using is Everly Learning Management System, Google Cardboard Viewers, Unity software, and smartphones. So basically the smartphones will be placed in a cardboard viewer, which will allow the employee to access the virtual reality experience. The cardboard viewers should also allow for a reduced cost than a typical VR setup. We can go to the next slide. And that's all I have on the virtual reality.
Thanks, LaDonna. I appreciate that. I don't see any questions, but we'll hang tight if you can hang tight, just in case someone thinks of something as we're plugging away.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Becky Johnson with Connections, and they, as I mentioned, have 2 projects that she's going to share with you.
Can you hear me okay?
It's a little muted, Becky, just a little.
Okay.
I can hear you, but it's, yeah, if people turn up their volume, they might
okay.
be able to hear.
I had to use headphones this morning, and so I don't know why, but my Zoom does not cooperate. So we are Connections Case Management. We are one of the 6 case management organizations that the state has a contract with to serve on the BEADS waivers. So our projects came from the collaboration of case management organization meetings that we've had over the last several years, individual feedback when we've all been in the field as case managers, and then of course our case managers and where they have kind of identified or seen barriers to service delivery or connecting people with services, supports, and resources. So our first innovative pilot project is a resource fair. This is something that we had dipped our toes in as an organization before the IPP grants were available. What we had identified is that there are people in the state that aren't receiving any services that still need supports, need those resources in their communities. And as you know, case managers have caseloads in the area where they live and in their communities. And so we are a great connection to how you could get connected to resources outside of what might be eligibility based. So what we wanted to do was really pull in the community and those community stakeholders to be able to have not just your typical transition fair or maybe not just your typical resource fair, but really connect those people in our communities that are waiting on services, that potentially only are able to access a limited amount of eligibility services, or just haven't had that availability to build their support network. The way that we have gone about that in the IPP project has been partnering with Self Advocates of Indiana. so that we can make sure that this is a sustainable project. I'm kind of going backwards on my slide. I apologize. To make sure that this is a sustainable project, they have started in on helping us do a template planning sort of, and also connecting with those community partners to access venues, etc. The providers, it's kind of a work in progress as far as how that will come about so that it can be easily replicated all over the state. Because our goal is in 2023, we are scheduled to do 9 resource fairs, 1 in every one of the 8 deeds districts and 2 in District 5, which is that Marion County and surrounding counties, so a little bit larger population district. We've already completed our first resource fair of 2023 in Evansville in March, and we are completing our second one this weekend in South Bend on June 3rd. They're scheduled from now until October. What we have done is pulled in waiver provider and or community partners in each one of those districts. They have helped with access to the venue. So in other words, having an accessible venue has been quite the challenge. And that's something that we're still seeking partnerships with across the state, and hoping with self advocates to get in place and ironed out before the end of 2023 in time for the 2024 resource fairs, and then to turn over the project to them. The second thing that we've partnered with in the community are people. We need people who are looking at building that support network in a little bit different way. So in other words, not every service or not every vendor or not every provider is going to be waiver based or even eligibility based. So we have programs like Taekwondo that does accessible classes in the community, and we're bringing them in. We have music therapists and rec therapists who maybe aren't necessarily just seeing their individuals that they serve, but they're showing what the advantages are of those services and how to access them if you don't yet have a waiver. We're bringing in individuals who are entrepreneurs. So that could be an individual with a disability or their family who have a host of talents that they've turned into a business. So that could be everything from an author to selling wares or goods, to a food truck vendor or a food truck operation. So bringing in those people to provide that access to them to showcase their talents, and to also, again, hit those networks within their community. So if someone comes and says, hey, I've got this where to sell, and a community business comes in, then they might want to have them at their next event or something. And then last but not least, we're really trying to glean feedback live time from the attendees, from the vendors, from the community about what it is that they need in that location. And what we found is that nothing shocking, but obviously in the rural areas, there is this kind of, service desert where we're trying to build on the resources that are available in that community or that area and have them network together so that they can start to fill in some of those gaps. So that's kind of our collaboration. Again, we intend to turn over completely that template to Self Advocates of Indiana in time for them to do those 2024 fairs. We are partnering with all of the case management organizations, any waiver provider. Everyone has been present and has provided volunteers and assistance and participation in all of the resource fairs. So it's really been a collaborative effort and something that we're really proud of and continue to build on. We are still seeking, as I said, those community partners for venue and hosting. At this time, that is individually based on the area, what the location is. What we've tried to really do to reach out to is a partner that is statewide, but that's proven to be a little bit hard. The top priority obviously being that the setting or that venue is ADA compliant. So that is a gap that we're working on and expect to have solved by the end of 2023. So that's our resource fair project. you, oh, yes. Our second project is waiver journey. And again, like I said, we have taken the input from families and case managers across the board and sat with our colleagues in case management and identified that navigating the waiver process is very difficult for someone who already has a full plate. And so what we have decided would be helpful from that feedback are certainly certain kinds of cheat sheets or shortcuts or a condensed kind of reference. If you've been around for a while, you might remember when the Governor's Council did what was called the Yellow Book. It's not going to be the same as that kind of one all-encompassing generalized format, but it's going to be a way to easily navigate each process of your waiver journey. So the beginning is kind of what you're going to expect when you're applying and waiting for waiver, what your options are and how to connect with resources. And so what we've been doing internally is building on what resources are available again in your community and your local area. We recently just kind of crossed a milestone in May and have identified and are starting to put together 1,000 community resources in the state of Indiana. So we've got the start of that. So we've crossed over that piece. The next step is really what to expect from your Medicaid waiver. So in other words, what should your case manager and your service providers, your community, and kind of technology, how can you use that, the life course principle of the integrated support star to really help you further that waiver journey and get everything that you can out of your waiver? And then where do you supplement from your community and where can you pull in that network and resources for you or your loved one? And then really unpacking individual rights. We all know that the settings rule has been kind of hovering, and it's very hard to understand, especially for families who have been receiving waiver services for a long time, maybe a decade, maybe more. And so to make that transition into what you should be expecting and what we should all expect from ourselves as far as a community of support. The next one is really what to bring to your waiver journey. And so what are the obligations and requirements to participate and receive those Medicaid waiver services? And what are the expectations of those quarterly meetings? And from your service providers, what do you need to give them so that your services are really working well for you? And then last, what we plan to identify at the end of the year and start working towards is how would you transition? We all would like to work ourselves out of the job. So if you no longer need waiver supports, how do you make that transition? If there's a different waiver that is a better fit for the services and supports that you need, how would you go about transitioning to that waiver? And then all of the other kinds of transitions that happen that are more traditional, like that transitioning out of school age into adulthood and those kind of life stage transitions. We're definitely integrating all of the life course principles that the state of Indiana has already adapted. All of our cheat sheets in the original packet, that kind of what you should expect, are all utilizing those tools, but certainly those principles to help identify and introduce life course and kind of person-centered planning as a general or at least a more global idea of how to approach services and supports. And then we want to provide that documentation to be accessible to anyone. So obviously that documentation will all be owned by beads and then be easily accessible for anyone that doesn't want to read that 200-page waiver manual and figure out how to do the next step. So that's kind of our waiver journey packet. We don't have a great name for that one yet. It's really still out for voting. We're hoping to get some feedback through the surveys about what would be a great name for those cheat sheets or whatever. So that's why I'm trying out all those names to see what kind of sounds the best.
Okay, Thank you, Becky. Okay, well, we are, this is the end of our webinar. Thank you to Becky and LaDonna from Sycamore and Connections. We always like to end our presentation with this slide. All people are empowered to live, love, work, learn, play, and pursue their dreams. All of these projects have that main goal in mind. So thank you guys for joining. I don't see any questions. I'm going to check one more time in the chat. I have placed in the chat their contact information, Becky and LaDonna's direct email. So if you guys have any questions and something comes to mind, please feel free to reach out directly to them. I do have one chat really quickly, just to around Becky, your guys' presentation, that the participation in the resource fairs is free for visitors and presenters. So just want to make sure, you might have said that, but just want to make sure that that was clear to the folks on the call. We also have up the my contact information, as well as the beads.help. That's a really common email address that people are familiar with. So if you think of something or you want to get involved, you have questions, you want to share this information with someone else, please feel free to reach out to either one of those email addresses and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. That is it for today. Again, this will be recorded, so continue to watch our website. We have presentations continuing next week as well, and excited to continue to share information with you guys. Thank you so much. Thanks to the presenters. Have a good rest of your week.